Oops. Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. So welcome everyone to which is going to be our final session of Teshuva and criminal justice for the summer. We're going to pick it up again in the fall in September and finish it off because, hey, there's still a little bit left to go, right? And we're only on session number seven. Right, 7 of 10. So we have 2 more in the fall, and we're gonna, finish those off. So, plus it's important. Okay, so let's share our screen here so that people who might be online share the screen. There we go. Okay, we're gonna share that. Well, that's not what it looks like. Go, okay. Share that. Huh? The computer is moving slowly. Doesn't having to work, I guess. Okay.
Must be the heat.
Must be the heat. Okay, so here we are. So what have we done so far, right? We have building upon the material in the last 2 units, we're now going to turn our attention to a new set of questions which emerge from the text we have studied. So we're going to address, how do you relate to someone who is attempting to move beyond rehabilitation and turn over a new leaf? Okay. For example, we will ask, hello, Barbara. We will ask whether it's appropriate to bring up someone's past offenses or to share information about them with others in the community. Right, now we're getting to the good stuff, right? This is the good stuff. Okay, so Jewish law is deeply concerned with the power of words and oppressive language of oniyah, of onat devarim, right? We're all about language. Language is important. How is the world created in our tradition? It's created in our tradition through speech. God creates the world into being. Words are very powerful. Anyone who says sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me, has never had their presidential campaign implode because of something they said that was wrong. Just to give a topical example, okay? Words can absolutely kill you, especially if they are words said in a court of law and you're on trial for murder. Okay, so let's be straight. Words are important. Hello, Marina. Good morning. So Jewish law is concerned with this, and the oppressive language is one of several commandments relating to forbidden forms of speech. In the opening section, we're going to study the prohibition of oppressive language, which includes not reminding the individual of their past because it will cause them pain. And we'll trace the concept of oppressive language from the Torah through the Talmud and then into the Middle Ages, okay? So let's look at case number 3. So here we go. The case we're going to explore in this unit is ban the box. Okay, ban the box. What page are we? We're on page 32 of the with the big numbers at the bottom. Yeah, okay. And which is a campaign that seeks to ban employers from asking questions about criminal history on initial job application forms, right? So this is modern. This is relevant, right? Because do you really need to know someone's criminal history if they're applying to be a teacher? Yes. Do you really need to know the person's criminal history if they're planning to dig a ditch? Probably not. It's especially it's like, well, someone was guilty of fraud, therefore we won't trust him with
The bank account.
with driving a car. Okay, so a similar campaign known as Beyond the Box aims to remove the question from initial college application forms, going back to our original case, right? Instead of being asked on the initial form, a question about criminal history would be asked during the interview or after a conditional offer has been made to determine, contingent upon the criminal background check. Okay, so advocates of these campaigns highlight the importance in allowing the possibility of a fresh start for those with criminal records. You know, tshuva, right? How can you make tshuva if everyone holds it against you, right? How long is it going to be that your poor decision to mop the floor after your friend murdered someone is going to haunt you when you try to become an accountant? Okay, how long is that action of mopping going to hurt you? To pick one of my favorite cases, okay? Because we've all done stupid things when we were young, because children are. Yes, thank you for filling that in. So let's add this in. Okay, so some activists argue the requesting this type of information disproportionately affects people of color, considered as a de facto form of racial discrimination. And those who oppose these laws stress the importance of knowing an applicant's past from the earliest stages of the application process. Yes, we want to know, during those 3 months of college when you first arrived, were you totally enthralled with the Communist Party before you came to your senses? Because you took a class in socialism and you thought, hey, this makes sense. Okay, so before looking at any of the sources, which side resonates more with you? Okay, so which do you guys like? Should we, not ask these questions first thing, or should we, maybe ask these questions first thing? Right? What do you think about ban the box?
I think it's a function of context.
Mhm.
The guy used an example we did a couple of weeks ago. Butcher comes to the town, applies a job for a butcher. Don't you want to know if the guy sold non-kosher meat in his past?
Good. Okay. On the other hand, well, what's the other hand? What's the argument against that? Like not asking this as the first question, as the filter before people even get in the door.
It prejudices you against that person if you know that the person is a criminal.
Right.
Have been a criminal.
Right.
It's prejudice.
Right. I mean, the word felon is a scary word, whether it's for an accounting error or murder. I mean, it's a very broad, and there's a broad range of felonious acts, right? And we tend to think, oh, this is a horrible person because he committed a crime, but the crime was, okay, here's an example of a felony. You're outside, it's a beautiful day, you look down and say, oh, that's a beautiful feather. You pick up the feather and you walk in, you sit down and you say to someone, look, isn't this a beautiful feather? And then the person beside you on the other side says, hey, wait a minute, I'm a wildlife officer, let me see that. That's an eagle feather, migratory birds. I'm gonna charge you with violation of that act. You've got possession of the eagle feather. You're not allowed to have an eagle feather. It fell from the eagle. And therefore I can prosecute you, and this is an easy win. You're now a felon. Okay, that is in the same category as anything else, right? So I love our system. It's so easy to get in trouble. Okay, it is so very easy. Okay, let's go to the next story. Let's look at our source here. Let's see what the rabbis have to say about this, because it's got to be interesting. Okay, so going to the top of the next page. Yeah. Do you think people have a right to ask these questions?
Depends on the law, because there are some laws.
Yeah, forget the law. Should you be able to ask these questions?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you meet someone like, you're going on a first date, it's very nice. By the way, did you ever do anything that you'd be embarrassed to tell me about, and you'd never tell me about, and I'd never find out about, but I want to know what it is anyways? Like, that's kind of a buzzkill, isn't it? Right? Especially on a first date. Second date, look, maybe you're about to get married. Now we should know about, but okay, here we go. The ger lo toneh, the stranger you should not oppress. V'lo tilchatzenu, you should not subjugate them. Ki gerim hiyitem be'eretz Mitzrayim, you guys were strangers in the land of Egypt. Do not, look, you guys are all ex-cons, you're all ex-slaves, Okay, don't do to them what was done to you. Oh, you're a Hebrew, let's throw you into slavery, right? Kol alumana v'yatom lo ta'nun. Do not oppress a widow or an orphan, right? So I've seen, you remember like novels from Dickens and like Les Mis? It's like orphans are terrible people. It's like these orphan children, they're terrible, they're awful, they're evil because they're orphans. It's not their fault. Why is Javert so set against orphans? Well, he was an orphan too, right? Have you thought about that? Like, why is like British society so set against orphans? Like, it's not their fault. It's not like they murdered their parents, unless they did. Otherwise, it's like, it's tragic, right?
Isn't the doubt that where they came from?
I don't know what the problem is.
well,
It's like, it's because they're from an orphanage, and orphanages are terrible places. It's like Orphan Annie, right? It's like, it's a horrible place to be an orphan. It's not their fault. What did they do to deserve that? What they did to deserve that is they had bad luck. Okay, if you oppress them, as soon as they cry out to me, I will listen to their outcry. God watches out for orphans. It's nobody else. So, okay, so Rashi says, okay, Rashi's problem is, how come I have to say oppress and subjugate? Because aren't those the same thing? Like, Rashi hates synonyms. So if there's two ways to say something, let's give a meaning for both. So oppression, oppressive language. Subjugation, theft of money. So what is the relationship between harming someone through words and with money? What's the difference between harming someone with words and money?
I think words could be longer lasting.
Yeah,
If you slander somebody, as opposed to just stealing money from them, that's a one-time thing.
yeah. It's still my reputation, it's still my livelihood. You can't trust that guy. That Rabbi Cantor, oh my goodness, the stories you should hear. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, you're very fortunate if you can get him to work for you. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, my father used to have trouble with how to give, letters of reference. Said the longer we knew him, the more we liked him. Okay. So when you come out of prison and you've served your corrective time, you've done your time, you've resolved, you've been corrected, you're a new human being, you're walking out immediately, you've got a bad reputation and they give you no money. Okay. Really setting you up to succeed here. Okay. Why the widow, the stranger, and the orphan? What's special? What do the widow and the orphan and the stranger have in common?
Well, they're in similar circumstances in terms of, it's a widow not having a spouse, an orphan not having parents. They don't have, I guess you could say, support system.
Have a support network, right? Because you only become an orphan if your aunt and uncle don't take you in. Right? And the widow's only really a sad widow if she's not taken in by her brothers or sisters or her brothers and sisters-in-law, right? And the stranger, they have no friends because they are a stranger. They're not from here, right? Because if someone comes from away and they know people here, they're not a stranger, it's landsman, Welcome, we'll help you out. Okay. Well, let's take a look at this. So here's the Mishnah. Okay. Bava Mitzia. So we're on the top of the next page. So Kishem she ona'a b'mikach umimkar, just as the laws of oppression apply to buying and selling, they also apply to oppressive language. How does buying and selling, how does oppression fit into there, by the way? How can you not oppress someone? Why is that open to oppression, buying and selling?
Fair in your dealings. Are you honest with that person? Are
Right,
you inflating the price of the object?
right,
It's,
right.
lots
If
and lots, or-
it's a buyer's market, are you really really lowballing and taking advantage of, the market? Or if it's a seller's market, are you really, really taking advantage of it? And, yeah, I understand, the hurricane's coming, everybody wants water. I've got water. Normally it's 50 cents a bottle, but today, $50 a bottle. Right? You got to be fair, right? You're not allowed to do that. Okay? Because it could happen to you. So one may not say, how much is this object if one does not wish to buy it? What do you think of that?
That's a tough one to.
That's a
think
tough one,
about
isn't it?
Because it's so common, because maybe you're trying to make a judgment about, is it a price you want to pay?
Okay, let's take a pause on this for a moment, okay? So why might it be bad to ask the price of something if you have no intention of buying?
Well, I guess you're creating expectations of the person who's selling it. They think they might be selling it to you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna see if his prices are fair.
yeah. So let's say the salesperson works on commission. Okay, works on commission, and you come in and they demonstrate it to you, and they spend a half an hour of their time ignoring other customers, half an hour of time, and then you say, I really, really love this. Thank you so much. Then you walk out and you buy it on Amazon. Okay,
Happens every day.
yeah, but it's not nice, is it? Because this person has just they're not volunteers, salespeople who work on commission. They're not volunteers acting of the goodness of their heart, right? You want to reward them, to pay them for their time, right? So Judaism has a problem with window shopping. You have to be very careful. And I do remember my parents saying, and if I don't, then, I imagine this is certainly what I say when I go in. Hi, I'm just looking. I'm not in the market. I'm just curious. How much is this? Now they're thinking, okay, I might be able to convince him, and I might be. So now it's like it's a legitimate, effort, right? But I'm not wasting his time. It's like, well, can I deal with this? Sure, not a problem. It's you have to give people a heads up. There's not a sale here.
What about comparative shopping? In other words, you walk into a jewelry store and they show you something and say, all right, let me check out someplace else. And
You just
see-
do that. That's where you go, right? So you walk in and say, hey,
and
I'm
no one
look,
has on.
hey, I'm in the market for a Rolex, and I want to check out all the different stores. You've just given them notice. You're comparison shopping, right?
Mhm.
If you walk in and say, I was walking by and I saw that I've never seen it before. And you walk in, you're so excited. And they say, okay, I'm going to check out across the street now. What was your price? Okay, I want to hang on to that because I already saw that guy and I want to bargain with that. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so it's called Genivat Da'at, stealing someone's mind. And the solution to Genivat Da'at is you let them know what's on in your mind, then you haven't stolen, right? Hi, I'm doing some comparison shopping. I'll do this. I'll say, hi, we're thinking about a car like maybe next year. Yeah, it's fair. Okay. If one had repented, another should not say to him, remember your earlier deeds. Hey, Bob, good to see you. You're looking swell. You're looking thin. Yeah. Remember when you used to be 108? Remember when it used to be 285 pounds? What do you think of those of that dessert there, eh? Mm. Okay. No, you don't want to do that, right? It's like we do not want to. Okay. I was watching a film. I didn't see the whole film because we lost interest halfway or we got called away, and I'm not going to go back. But it's called Mean Girls.
Oh,
Okay.
I've heard of it.
And it's a musical. And in the musical, there was a line which used a nickname used for Lindsay Lohan, who's also in the film. that was not nice. And she said, I'm unhappy with that, right? You should not have reminded people what my nickname was in 2000, because I was a different person then. Done a lot of work. And you know what they did? In the TV version, they edited out that offending line, so it's no longer a part of it. They said, you know, Chatanu, we sinned. We should not be making fun of you that way. You're right. Yeah, wasn't nice. Wasn't nice. And there's something we can do about it, right? When Pierre Elliott Trudeau was running for, not Pierre Elliott, when Justin Trudeau was running for government, and the attack ads came out and says, this guy was a summer camp counselor at the canoes. It's like, yeah, wouldn't you want someone who you trusted with your children? But they meant it like, this guy's been doing policy, this guy, well, these guys have been doing government, he's been like doing, summer jobs, right? But, he managed to turn around to say, okay, that's fine. Okay. If one descends from proselytes, you should not say to him, remember the deeds of your ancestors. Hey, didn't your father used to be a witch doctor with, libations to the gods? For it said, a stranger you shall not wrong or oppress. Right? Don't remind people of their past stuff. Why? Okay, this should not be like a difficult question. Why do we not remind people of their past bad deeds?
It's hurtful.
It's hurtful, right? I left town and I changed my name and I changed my style. I came back because I'm trying to escape my past. Just let me escape it, right? No one will ever let me forget the time off. Okay. But the counterbalance against that is, what if it's relevant, right? Yeah, I understand. You should not make him feel bad for, stealing money and embezzling from, but he wants to be an accountant. Like, isn't that kind of relevant? So how do you balance that? Hey, you guys have lived this life, right? You have had this in your real lives. You've had a time where you thought, should I tell them about what I know? Anyone ever have that experience? Like, should I tell them what's going on?
Depends on what it,
Well, how do you make the decision? What are the calculations that go into it? What's the calculus?
Well, you said it has to be relevant.
Okay, it has to be relevant.
if it's something that's going to affect other people's lives. If they
Yeah,
know about
okay,
it.
yeah.
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 Because if you're telling them simply because, hey, I know what you did
Right,
2 years ago.
Right.
And if it's not relevant, then
right.
why are you bringing it up? It's reflecting poorly on you also.
So what is your response when you're reading a newspaper article and it says, according to one of their intimates, so-and-so said blah, blah, blah? What's your first thought? That's not a great friend. That's not a great confidant. You'll never believe what someone told me in secret.
And the confidant wants to be anonymous anyway, so,
Ah, right. So,
one of Rabbi Cantor's friends said thus and such.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, which one?
Which
Please, thank you. Yeah, it's look, can you guys keep a secret? Do you want to hear a really great secret?
Well,
Yeah?
it's not a secret.
No, you do, right? You guys want to know? I've got such a great thing. You'll never believe it. And you'll never know what it is, because I also know how to keep a secret. Okay, good. Now, you're all like, oh. Ah,
Lashon hara.
Lashon hara. Remember what Lashon hara is?
Mhm.
What are the two elements of Lashon hara? It has to have two things true of it for it to count as Lashon hara. Number one, it must be
Something hurtful.
it has to be hurtful. Good. What's the second element of Lashon hara? To qualify as Lashon hara,
purpose for which it's said, or?
It must be true.
Oh, really?
If I tell lies about someone, that's not lashon hara. That's not evil speech. It's just rechilut. It's just gossip. It's just right. If I tell bald-faced lies, that's less of a problem. Well, and you look, why is it less of a problem if I tell lies?
Because they're lies.
Because they're lies. The truth will come out. The truth will set you free. Right. Right. But if it's true, you can't disprove it. You can't deny it. Is it not true that in 1976, when you were in Ottawa, were at this place and you did this thing? It's like, yeah, I did that. I'm so sorry.
There was a case, just I think within the last year, a year or 2 years maybe. There's an Orthodox rabbi who was, I guess, known or suspected of molesting, was it children? I don't know, but maybe a Haredi rabbi, in fact. And then he passed away, and he was totally glorified by his followers. And I think the community was horrified that anyone should want to even suspect, let
Yeah.
alone talk about,
Yeah.
Something, does anybody remember anything? I remember reading about that. Just in the last 2 years, I would say something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at it slightly
I
differently.
think he was being sent to Israel to be buried. And I remember
Yeah.
seeing photographs of, all these black hatters,
Was it the rabbi from Cherry Hill?
not Cherry Hill, I think
Well,
someone from New York.
let's
Yeah.
make this broader, right?
Mhm.
I am okay with teaching American history and not spending the bulk of the time on which of our founding fathers were slave owners who had children with their slaves. Okay? Because if we did that, we don't have anyone left. Okay? When we talk about George Washington, okay, yes. You gotta, forgive me, you gotta treat the man in his day and age. He was a righteous man. Look, Noah was a righteous man in his age. If Noah lived in the age of Abraham, he would have been, thrown in jail. Okay, who knows? Okay. Yeah, I am saying this. I really am saying this. It's not that he made tshuva. I think Washington was perfectly fine with owning the slaves. But when we're going to have, Washington's birthday celebrated, we're going to focus on hello created the country. Okay. And there's like an asterisk and an appendix saying, by the way, there's a lot of great men who were terrible people in their private lives, and we deal with that later, right? But we don't say he wasn't a great man because he had some flaws, because who knows? What if it turns out that cattle have intelligence like human beings? And we are all, unless you're a vegetarian, horrific monsters for eating them. If only we knew. If we knew, we'd stop, but we didn't know, right? Okay, I'm not going to go further down that street, but you can make the argument. Well, did he really know? Okay. So let's try to take this a little bit further, okay? The Mishnah compares oppressive language to financial parallel. The Talmud's going to go further. So let's look at how oppressive language should be regarded as more severe than financial problems. Okay. So here we go. We're on page 35. Rabbi Yochanan. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan is the one who's hanging out with Reish Lakish, who's his friend who ends up dying because of Lashon Hara, right? Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, greater is the transgression of oppressive language than the transgression of monetary oppression. As with regard to the latter, it says, and you shall fear your God. But with regard to money, it says, it doesn't say you should fear your God. Okay, so fine. Do not wrong one another, but fear your God. I'm the Lord your God, right? But with money, it didn't say it. Rabbi Elazar said, verbal oppression affects the person's body. Monetary oppression affects their money. Okay, yeah, when I'm poor, my health may go down, right? But it doesn't oppress my soul. It doesn't oppress my reputation. It doesn't oppress how my kids think of it. But words, maybe. Verbal oppression affects a person's body. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani says the consequences of monetary oppression can be undone, right? That's the whole notion of our civil law system, right? Compensation, monetary compensation, right? I lost the field, you gain a field. I can pay you back with money. There's an interesting example given, right? It's like one of those gotcha video type things, right? Where they say, look, I understand that racism, it isn't a big thing, right? It is a big thing, it isn't a big thing. But they go to a group of white men and they say, how much money would you have to be compensated for you to agree willingly to live the rest of your life as a black man? How much money? And so they start sitting down and they start thinking, well, okay, so if I'm a black man, okay, so I'm going to need something to help with my income because my income is going to be low. And not that there is any systemic anything, but I probably want something for private security. And they start listing. And it's like, this particular bit, I can't with like $1 million, you know, like several $1 million. I mean, that's how much money it would have to be to compensate me for being in that position, right? For me to willingly choose, right? Yeah, I mean, how much money how much money would someone have to pay you in order for you to agree to be voluntarily labeled a sex offender? Okay, like,
Wow.
you know, Mr. Cantor, here's the deal. We want to put, we want to have, look, we don't have anyone on the sex offender listing for such and such an area. We want people to take it seriously. Therefore, no. We just want to put your name up, you know, so just so that people take it. So we're going to put your name up. How much money do you want compensation? I said, well, okay, well, I would like all of my future earning income right now. Okay, I want, like, you'd have to pay me. There's no amount of money you could pay me that would ever make me agree to that. Is there? Is there? There is none. Okay.
You
A
can take the
desert
money and
island,
run
maybe.
Take them
to
to
A
someplace else.
desert island.
No, it'll follow me. It'll follow me. It's like I'm gonna go and they're gonna say, you know, David, I was researching on the internet. I found that in like Yardley.
It's sad because
Okay.
I know someone.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
I mean, I have enough problems. I was rear-ended and it got coded in as being my fault on the insurance thing, and my insurance went up.
Mhm.
And to get that undone was miserable.
Is this true?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was really annoying, right? It's like, what do you mean?
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
have, it's like, that should not be on my record.
Right.
Or, oh, this is funny. I tried to open up a bank account and they wouldn't let me. Why? Because I was on the list of people who banks are angry with. I said, why am I on this list? Said, well, did you have this bank account in Tennessee? Yeah, I had that bank account. I closed that bank account. Well, they said that you owe you money. You owe them money. So I phoned them up. They said, no, you don't owe us any money. We closed your account. But the next month, we accidentally charged you the regular fee for the account. And it was like, and then we caught it and then we erased it. Well, during the time that it was on the account, it got flagged in the system and it never went away. And here I am in California, 10 years later, I can't open a bank account. Okay? So verbal things do not go away. Okay.
Things in computers do not go away.
So, I mean, there's a reason why I don't even bother trying to open bank accounts now. I have a bank, no, it's true. I have a bank account in Alaska that I got through my car loan. And I have a bank account in Maine because because that's the first place I worked. But this is where my bank accounts are. I don't even bother with a local bank account because I'm done. I'm done with it. Okay. So
Stuff can happen.
verbal oppression cannot be undone. Okay, you're all gonna run home and say, guess what I heard about Rabbi Cantor?
Yeah.
It's not juicy enough.
Ah,
By the time it leaves its building, we'll have you defrauding banks.
so I have good news and I've got bad news. The good news is, the bad news is everyone knows your indiscretion. The good news is it's so minor, nobody cares. It's too boring. Love it. Okay. Anyone who humiliates another person in public as though he spilled their blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard that, right? It's like murder, right? It's like murdering. Now, you know why? It's because when you insult someone, what happens when you get insulted?
Yeah.
Typically, what happens? Like you're looking at someone and you insult them. What happens next? You
Yeah.
turn pale.
You can't believe it. and
Look
get
They
at
that-
their body
turn-
language.
They turn pale. Has it ever happened? They turn pale, like all the blood is dropped out of their body. That's the spilling of the blood.
Okay.
Okay, that's where they're getting it from. Because like you turn white. So, he says, you've spoken well, for you see, when a person's humiliated, the red leaves their face and they become pale. So, the rabbis perceive transgression of oppressive language is severe. Okay? You can't undo it. It's even comparing the humiliation of someone through words to murder. Yeah. Okay, I know that I watch TV and movies and maybe you guys don't. Any fans of Doctor Who here?
I didn't bring him with me today.
Okay.
Bill's watched it.
Should we watch Doctor Who?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Oh.
So there's this one episode where the Prime Minister of England is beginning to get too big for her britches. And she is about to go down a path that the Doctor thinks is bad. And he says, you be careful, or I will end you with 6 words, I will end you. And she says nothing. So he goes over and he says to one of her aides, she says, do you think she's looking tired? Just 6 words. Do you think she's looking tired? Well, by the end of the day, everyone thinks she's looking tired and she's exhausted and clearly she's not up for the job. And that ends her career. 6 words.
Sounds
Do you
familiar.
think she's looking tired?
Mm.
Right? They're trying it in this country. But, Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Don. It's not sticking as well because it's not a TV show. Okay, life is different, but still.
They do follow you, the words, and it's an impression from one person to the next person to the next person.
She said, maybe, you know.
Maybe she wasn't, but he just had to say
Right.
those words and sow doubt.
Okay,
Mhm.
so here's something. Based upon the rationales of the severity of this prohibition, would the transgression also fly beyond verbal exchanges, include written communication? Ever send an email that you wish you could recall?
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where's that recall button? And not all applications have that.
Right.
Never put anything in an email that you do not want to be part of your permanent record for the rest of your life. Never put anything in a Facebook comment that you do not want to be part of your permanent record for the rest of your life.
Yeah, because even if the record says, don't show this to somebody,
Okay?
somebody may find it.
I feel sorry for kids today because stupid things they said when they were 12 are gonna haunt them when they're 24.
Oh,
You would like to join the Marines? I'm sorry, didn't you say F America when you were like 16?
mhm.
It's right here in a text. You want to explain that, please?
yeah. Or photographs.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
He was talking about South America, don't worry about it.
No, it's like, I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I feel that there's,
But what about the people that bully through Facebook? I mean,
well, that's good, because then you
Yeah.
can, like, there's proof, right?
well,
You know,
some of these kids take
yeah.
it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And there've been problems.
Okay, how,
Just jokes.
so
Just-
how might the prohibition of reminding someone of their past wrongdoings relate to the university admissions or job application process? Coming back to our the very first thing, right? Do you think that there's a great little bit of Torah where there's this one fellow and he goes to his father and he says to his father, give me a good recommendation to your colleagues. And his father says, no. You have to earn your own recommendation. Right? We all have to like earn our own recommendation. Every day we start anew. Every day is a new day. So, you know, if you apply to college, maybe it should be a clean slate. Right? Now, I mean, there's the exception to the exception for Lashon Hara, by the way. There are specific exceptions. If someone's getting married and you know something specific about the bride or the groom that the bride or the, if they knew it, they might not agree to marry them, you're obligated to go to the person and say, hey, did you tell so-and-so about this? Because if you don't tell so-and-so about this, I'm gonna have to let them know. Which is much better than saying, hey, you know, Daniela, I have to tell you something about George. No, you go to George and say, George, you gotta own up. Right? Or if someone's going to business with someone and the guy has a problem, like he's an addict or he has cheated people in the past or he's unstable, then you really should tell them. But again, you tell them the best way to do that is to tell them with the knowledge of the person that you're breaking their confidence. Right? Because ideally, you don't have to break their confidence, they will do it on their own. This is the right thing to do. And if they're not doing that, then you know that's more important. So I think, you know, if you're applying for university, I think everyone should get a new start. If they've cheated in the past, if they cheat again, they'll get caught. Okay. Final source, Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch was a book that was written as a bar mitzvah gift for kids saying, hey, now that you're responsible for all the mitzvahs, here's all the mitzvahs. Okay. So great gift. So he likes to talk about the purpose for the mitzvah. Like, what is the reason why? So he says, the root of this commandment is understood, for is to give peace between people. Great is peace, for through it, blessing becomes found in the world, and difficult is argument, for many curses and many tragedies depend upon it. Okay? Sometimes it's good to not say things, as I've learned from my mother. Anytime you say, I was going to say something, but I thought better of it. Always listen to that advice. Do not allow yourself to be convinced to share what it was that you didn't want to share. Because you're probably right. Okay. How does the observance of the mitzvah not to embarrass, not to share bad news, how does that promote peace?
Well, sewing up and sharing some of that can create discord and bad relationships among people. So this way you're talking about trying to ideally promote better relations among people, getting along better, trying to figure positive ways to work out differences rather than stir them up with what you say, ideally.
So I'm going to give you a purposely terrible example. I forget if it was Whitey Bulger or if it was someone else. Someone who had run away from the law, created a new identity for themselves, and lived as a perfectly nice husband, father, pillar of the community for 30 years until the FBI found out that this guy was, someone who had done something way in the past. Don't you think his family, his new family, would prefer to have never known him?
Sure.
Would it have been so terrible? I mean, putting aside, the mass murder aspect or whatever it was. Right? But 30 years later, he would have served his time. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm troubled by it. Right? So, what are the tragedies that result from argument? Do tragedies result from arguments?
Lack of trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or worse, actually.
We had a family in one of the congregations where sisters, best friends, and then sister lost her job. So they lived in the house with them, her and her daughter, and the husband got annoyed about how much water they were using, and they had a big fight and they had a breakdown. And when the father died, the grandfather, the two sisters, they weren't speaking to each other. And one of them was really interested in all the Jewish stuff that the father did. The other one had control of the will. She threw all those things in the garbage. It was like the most horrific breakdown, animosity, horrible thing over water usage. Come on. Arguments are something that, there's arguments that are important, but then there's some things that you maybe just don't need to argue about, right? Just doesn't matter. My favorite example, okay, and this is a stereotypical example, but when I'm telling a story about that time we were in Ontario and such a thing happened, and Kedma's listening to me and she knows for a fact it wasn't Ontario. It was a different trip. It was, no. It was in Alberta. And it had to be in Alberta because A, B, C, and D, right? But knowing the correct location does not actually affect the point of the story. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't correct me. She lets me tell the story wrong. Because she loves me more than she loves being correct. And I can think of all the times when I've heard a couple telling a story and says, it wasn't that, and they're arguing with each other over like whether it was the blue marble or the black marble, or, you know,
Mhm.
right? That's an example of arguments that we should avoid. Okay?
It's a great, you ever watched the movie Animal House?
Oh, God.
Oh, long time ago.
Greatest line is when they're about to be thrown off campus and Belushi's going, did we give up when the Germans attacked Pearl Harbor? They're all looking and wondering. And one of the guys, let him go, he's on a roll.
I love that.
Great line.
Absolutely.
I'll watch it again tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't take anything away
Doesn't
from
take
it.
away. The
No,
concept is the same.
no.
So
Yeah.
how did you learn then that you made this mistake? It must have come up later.
And she's gonna tell me, David, by the way, you know?
Or privately, in other words, right?
Yeah. I can't actually think of any true examples, so I'm just making up the bit about Ontario and this and that.
Oh.
But I do know,
Similar.
but I do know that when she's telling a story, and it's like, that's not the way I remember it. It's like, doesn't matter, just let her tell the story. Yeah, because certain things matter. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah, I also never ever complain about your spouse to someone else. Just, you know, my wife, you know, she does this and this and this. Don't do that. Saying, you guys already know. If you don't, well, it's not too late to start. Okay. How would you articulate the prohibition of oppressive language? How are you going to say it? You know, what is it you're not supposed to do?
Certainly need to be careful of what you say in the context and to whom, and think before you speak. And,
Yeah.
you know, the words carry more weight, and I think today people are not in general, just
Yeah.
don't realize how much weight words, what you say and even how you say it
Yeah.
makes difference.
Social media has made a big difference.
Yeah.
That made it worse, for sure.
A lot worse. A lot worse.
When human beings communicate in a conversation, you're in a conversation, what do you want to do? You want to one up, right?
Mm.
Let me tell you a story, right? That you want to participate, right? And your whole catalog of experiences that you can share is mostly things that other people have done wrong, right? So it helps to ask yourself, what's my motivation for sharing the story about this misfortune? Is it because it's at all relevant, or is it because I want to participate in the conversation, feel good about myself, I want to share something, and everyone's going, oh, right? If your motivation is anything other than additive to make things better, you might want to pause. Okay, now that gets rid of most of gossip, okay? Like People Magazine is gone. Us is gone, right? All of these things are gone. I mean, the whole industry is gone, right? I do not need to know anything about Princess Catherine of Wales. Her health, nothing. It is irrelevant. Stop being interested. Just let them live their life, okay?
I always say, how is this going to affect me? How's that going to change my life? Her life's going to go on and my life's going to go on. So I don't let it interfere that she wears crowns when she goes to bed. I have my own crowns.
Those kind of.
Yeah, the curlers, yeah. Okay, you don't need curlers though, you have the opposite problem.
I have the opposite. We were talking about teeth crown.
Oh,
I have my own
The crowns that many of us have.
yeah, but I mean,
Wow.
Not the
all that
tiara.
stuff- not the tiara. All that stuff is like fluff. It's like, I don't know. I
So-
find other things more interesting than talking about things that are not going to change my life.
so regarding specific example of past crimes and universities, How should a university or an employer evaluate an applicant's criminal record? Like, what should be the question should be asking?
Can they do the job?
Can they do the job?
I mean, I've hired and fired a
Yeah,
lot.
do they meet the qualifications that you have listed?
Right,
Are they a threat to others' safety? Right? I mean, if someone is, has a record for assault. Okay, then I want to ask the question, is this like assault in a bar? Or is this domestic? It's like, it's ugly, but to ask the question, how is this relevant? And not just a blanket, we're not letting in anyone. Right, it's, I don't think. Don't judge me. I don't think misappropriation of accounting forms is a reason someone should lose their license to carry a gun. But any felon in New York is no longer allowed to, own a gun, right? So it's like, well, wait a minute. Right? There's things that are relevant and things that aren't, right? Lying on your taxes should not affect your ability for self-defense. Okay, armed robbery should.
definitely.
When should it not be considered oppressive language, if ever, to bring up an individual's past offenses? When is it okay to bring up someone's past offenses?
You mean directly to them, speaking to them? Is that what
To
you-
them or to others? When should it be okay?
Job interview.
Past offenses.
So I was at a job interview once and I was Googling and I asked someone about their, this and this. And someone said, Rabbi, you can't ask that question. It's not allowed. It's illegal. You shouldn't ask that question.
Might be dependent on the local law of wherever it is, and then maybe once you get closer to offering a position, then you can look
Yeah.
at the offenses and
Yeah,
see if
right.
they are relevant to the position you're hiring for, such as, accountant and someone who, embezzled, and maybe you're not going to offer them the CFO position of your
Right.
company.
So you would know of these offenses before you even started the interview.
Well, I guess
So-
it depends where in the interview
Yeah.
process, because the way I think it would
Large
work
corporations
is.
have
We're
HR.
we're not gonna,
And HR that eliminates people before you even get
Yeah,
to see them.
so here's my short answer and then have a wonderful summer. I think that it's not a problem to bring up someone's past offenses when the person makes no secret of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Someone who stands up and says, I am a convert for Judaism, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I think that makes it fair game, right? Dave's Killer Bread, I think it's okay to talk about his criminal record. I think he wants to.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay, in fact, that's a selling point. And if you're no longer gonna buy Dave's Killer Bread because it's produced by an ex-con who employs ex-cons, well, it's written right on the back.
I never knew that, Rabbi.
Okay.
I didn't even read the package till you said that a couple
And
weeks
does it say
ago.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I was very proud of it. I thought that was great. That here's a person who turned his life around to the point where I enjoy his bread.
Right,
Hello.
and the truth is, and if in 40 years he does something wrong, someone's gonna say, see, I told you we should never trust.
Should have eaten his bread.
Judgment. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the recording. And so thank you all so much.
There's a wonderful pizza place in North Philadelphia, right on the corner, that is owned